All right. Good morning, folks. Another episode of Burning Platform. A real pleasure to have three global Zoho executives today from different parts of the world. So we're going to talk about the whole world of globalization and how Zoho goes to market against some very big global competitors. So we have Suvish from UK, Europe. I'll let each one of them introduce themselves for a minute. Carla from South America, Latin America, and Ali, who covers Middle East and Africa. Welcome, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a miracle we can get this global Zoom call going, but thank you for joining me. Why don't we start with Carla? You introduce yourself for a minute, and then Suvesh, then Ali.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for hosting us today. I'm Carla Garcia. I am the director for Latin America. My main goal is specific in regards to numbers. I've been in Zoho for around 8 years. As of today, outside of Zoho, I enjoy, learning about technology, spending time with family, and in general, just constantly evolving and just immersing myself in this technology world, which helps me to identify unique strategies for the growth in our region.
Thank you, Carla. Suvesh?
Thank you, Vinny. I'm Suvish, and I lead the marketing for Zoho's UK and Europe division. I have been associated with Zoho now for about 11, 12 years. Right now I'm part of this team to grow our presence here in the region.
Suvesh, 11 2 years is a mere youngster in the early years, right?
Yes.
I earlier this year, and everybody seemed to be 20 years plus.
Yes.
Ali?
Well, I'm one of the younger ones by tenure, not age, of course. Alicia Abdar. I'm Regional Director of Middle East and Africa. I've been with Zoho for 5 years. I've been a huge fan for probably 13, 14 years. And finally, I joined the team, which was delightful. What we do in the region, of course, a lot of expansion. It's a very vibrant region. I take care of strategic alliances, a part of expansion and growth, marketing and key account management. All of these divisions we work with very closely. It's a quite exciting time and region to be working at.
Well, we're going to get a very wide perspective from the three of you. So let's kick in. Ali, let me start with you. Your colleague Haider had presented to me last year about all the growth, and especially in Africa, all the countries you were starting to be in, and how well you were doing in the UAE in particular. So give me an update. What in the last year, what new markets have you been targeting? What has changed? Talk about your momentum in that region.
Sure, Vinny. As I said, it's a very diverse and interesting region. We have more than 80 countries, and they speak probably hundreds of languages and in different backgrounds. So it's a very rewarding experience when we start expanding. In the past year alone, probably the biggest expansion continent-wise was in Africa. We are opening a new office in Johannesburg, in addition to our Cape Town office. South Africa is doing great. We opened our Kenya office, although we had a team, but now officially we have an office as well. So it helps us a lot in serving the customers better, localizing. As you know, we have this transnational localism vision and strategy, and we're really pushing it. Nigeria as well has been growing, although the economy in the region, as you know, for various reasons, has been quite tumultuous. So we're dealing with that as well. Saudi Arabia is growing very fast. I think it's no news to anybody that Saudi Arabia is pumping a lot of investment and growth in a lot of areas, especially digitalization. And the rest of the region has been growing steadily. Israel also, we have now a robust team stationed in Tel Aviv. We see a lot of good growth in that space as well, along with other countries. So overall, it's a upwards trend that we've been keeping for the past 5-6 years.
So specific to Saudi, I spent 3 years in Saudi Arabia in the 80s. It was largely a big government-funded market. Has that changed? Is there a lot more private sector that you can target?
You're right. It is majorly driven by the government funds and government vision. different sectors of businesses, let's say if we're talking about the Saudi small businesses, they are picking up the pace. It's a country where people look up to the government and the leaders. So whatever conversation becomes the topic of the day, businesses also try to tune into it. So that's quite helpful for a company like us in technology. From an enterprise perspective, of course, they're very focused so far in the energy sector. So the likes of Aramco, which have been established forever. However, there is an influx of large companies, multinationals who are coming, either doubling down in their investment and expansion or entering the market more aggressively. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Suvish, so differently than your other two colleagues here, UK, Europe, there's a lot more competition, right? A lot of US software vendors, a lot of SAP, a lot of European software vendors. So tell me what your challenges. They're probably different than what your other two colleagues have. Talk about the market in especially the EU, but talk about both the UK and the EU.
I would say there are some similarities as well, right? So there is definitely difference as you move the borders. There's cultural difference. The buying patterns differ. The laws differ. But at the end of the day, what we are seeing here in the region as well is there's a strong push for digitalization. When you look at Europe as a whole, you see that, okay, it's a developed market, everything is in place. But you start peeling the layers, you see that, okay, this part of digitalization hasn't reached to the last mile. And you see differences between different countries. For example, UK would be far ahead or maybe closer to the US in terms of technology adoption, and some other developed markets where I am taking the call now. Netherlands far ahead as well, similar to UK. But you go further south, you see that the adoption of digital tools is not as widely used than say other markets. So the challenge here then is to bring the brand into perspective, educate about the brand, and also showcase how these simpler, faster tools can really help the business. The other challenge that what we see here in Europe is it's a very trust-based market. So if you are a new vendor, it requires more effort to establish the trust factor, because businesses are not ready to change their systems soon enough, right? Because it's the human power is more expensive. The whole implementation cycle can go longer. So but once you get an entry, then and you see that the products are functioning well, there is internal adoption, then they stick with you for a longer period. So it's that initial inertia which you have to come over, and I think then it's like any other market.
I suspect, so you mentioned trust, right? I suspect because the Indian outsourcers preceded you and their brands are bigger, there must be a little bit of confusion. Probably you have to explain, hey, look, I'm not an outsourcing firm just because we're from India. Do you have to do that?
We haven't come across that, but there's definitely when there is you see an outside company outside of Europe, there is a bit more of convincing you have to do, and then when you say that, okay, our data centers are here, we have the right compliances, they see the background of the company. We also see the trust factor going up when you say the company is a private company, for example, right? Because it's culturally deep rooted here in Europe for companies to stay private for generations, be it a mid-sized company or even large companies in some cases, and that factor really adds to the trust element to the whole conversation.
That's a great point. Carla, you have such a big market, not as big as Ali. I mean, 80 countries. I didn't realize you had 80 countries. But the general perception, unfortunately, is Latin America is one big homogenous market, right? If you can speak in Spanish, Latin America is good enough. Clearly, it's a very different market. Talk a little bit about the market, some of the challenges you face.
Yes, absolutely. Well, here in Latin America, I would say the number one challenge would probably be the educational gap. There are some countries that may be more advanced in technology topics or even English per se. As you know, most of the technology information or even like applications, most of the resources are in English as well. So we do find a gap specifics into how emerge each country may be in regards to technology. Just like Suvish said, we do see the need for digitalization. However, when it comes to digitalize, we have companies that it literally means starting on an application for the first time, right? Meaning or they're still using paper, pen, and moving them into a digital platform. Then we have other countries that may be more advanced, they're actually looking for specifics into IoT. So this is where the main, like I would say, issue comes because we have a diverse market and different level of education or knowledge in specifics. So we have to decide where we want to focus. As you know, Latin America, there are many countries that have large industrials that they export. And these are the people that are looking more into IoT, how to make this smarter, how to, make more money in the least amount of time. And then we have mid-tier countries where they're interested and maybe they're already using one or two applications, and then they're looking into continuing with the evolution, maybe improve their efficiency. And like I said, we have the lower tier companies or countries where we actually have to start a whole new progress and process of education through alliances with local chambers of commerce, with universities, to kind of help spread out the word.
Carla, let's come back to the licensing models because, like you say, some people just want to buy one or two applications from you. Others probably want Zoho one. Let's come back to that. Suvish, you have a lot of multinationals headquartered, right? You're based in Holland, so Germany, there's a lot of multinationals and so on. And yet you also have a middle stand in Germany, right? So tell me how you navigate the multinational market, which obviously all the Western firms like Oracle and Workday and so on are interested in, and the SME market. So talk a little bit about that.
There's a change when you see pre-pandemic, during pandemic, and then the world we live in today, right? And when you see the change, the previous market, it was about going with the set rules, going in that same direction, right? And then that changed because you needed more agility in place, you needed cost optimization in place, you needed mobility in place, and that shook the whole vendor marketplace, I would say. And I don't think it's very restricted to Europe, but I think it's everywhere. I'm sure Ali and Carla are seeing the same thing in their markets as well. Now, how that helps is larger multinationals are also looking for nimbler, agile tools that could help them move faster because the competition, the startups who are building better products and they're acquiring the user base or the market realities, right? So we are seeing a parallel lines, sort of parallel progress happening for both SMEs and enterprises, where in our case, enterprises would start small with us. They would experiment with one team, with one product, and over the period of time, they keep adding licenses as they see internal adoption growing. For example, CRM, they would start with a smaller team, and then they would keep adding licenses for inside sales for the overall sales team over the period of time. In SME's case, it's usually they see value in our larger ecosystem, value for investments. So it's slightly more easier, I would say. But SMEs, the ask that they have is what can help them to get up to speed faster, right? The return on investment, they would want it to come quicker than say an enterprise where there is a lot of internal hurdles to cross before they can really realize the potential of an investment. So these are parallel tracks happening. We are seeing a lot of customers who are following these. You can put them into these two buckets, so to say, and they are realizing the potential of the products that we can provide to them.
Ali, I imagine it's similar to what Suvish said, but my God, you have 80 countries. How do you decide which markets to go after? I mean, clearly you mentioned Nigeria and Kenya are two big, and South Africa are three big ones in Africa, and the Middle East you get UAE and Saudi Arabia, but you still have another 75 to go. So how do you decide where to focus?
Yeah, it is quite interesting, and the market itself in most of the cases tells us what to do. At least gives us some clues. The trends and behavior is similar as we heard from Suvish. It is similar. However, the trends usually play a game of catch with Europe and Americas, which gives us a good space to think and strategize. However, sometimes in countries with higher GDP like Saudi, or more stronger or more aggressive strategic plans or visions, we see that they want to get ahead of everybody. So different trends we try to adapt to. So there is a wide variety of capabilities, both in digital literacy, in government initiatives, and private sector appetite and speed at which they're growing. So as I said, the market usually gives us clues. Our top markets are some of the strongest countries in the region as well, like UAE, Saudi Arabia, Israel, South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria. I mean, it's very easy to guess. Egypt also, being a large country, has a lot of potential for us. However, each one of these countries, not all of them, but some of them, are dealing with economic challenges or other issues. The past 2 years has been quite eventful, to put it mildly. The war had ripple effects across the continent. I'm sure Europe is facing similar issues, and this impacted a number of countries. So what we do when we enter a market or pick a specific country, we look at the revenue, digital literacy, and the appetite of that country. A lot of them that we enter officially, which means we establish a team, step number one, and then establish a physical office, and then we start expanding. There is already a large and growing number of customers,
right,
which has been growing organically. We enjoyed a very steady growth in the past quarter century, to put it into perspective. And this growth has been mostly organic for the past 20 years, at least. In the past 5 years, we entered into more proactive, more traditional channels of actually talking about our products. Within that space, again, as I said, the market usually talk to us, and then we respond. There are also examples that we take a more strategic approach. We can see where the trend are going, where the country is going, and then we invest more in terms of time and effort.
Raju told me 3-4 years ago, he says, it's amazing how organic our growth tends to be. We seem to attract people through indirect channels. And once we see there is enough of a demand, then we go in and explore more the physical aspect of that. Suvish, do you find that in Eastern Europe? Are you starting to see interest in Eastern Europe similar?
Yeah, I mean, I would go back to the question that you asked, Ali, right? About, I mean, if you look at in Europe, also there is I think 35, 40 countries, right? And we know that we can't go to all these countries, just by putting a team there, right? So there's this lot of that organic push that comes from or pull that comes from the market. And like Ali said, there's a lot of clues that you get from the market, and that's what we are getting it from Eastern Europe, starting with Poland, and even though Ukraine, it's in war, there's interest coming in from there and other countries. As people, as businesses, they have to move forward, and to move forward, you need to. There's no other way other than getting things faster, getting things more agile, putting things digitally possible. So Zoho comes as one of those vendors who can make things possible a bit faster, a bit not that expensive. So it's an easy vendor to deal with than say others out there in the market, and that's how we are seeing that pull from these different regions in Europe.
So Carla, let me ask you this: in different parts of certainly the U.S., Zoholic seems to be a great way to attract new prospects. What do you find in Latin America? Is Zoholics a good way to bring prospects in, or are you using more traditional lead generation strategies?
Yeah, specifically in LATAM, since we are a very customer and front-facing kind of market where we need to shake hands and need to see the people or the person face to face, Zoholics is always a fun and nice way to basically attract prospects. However, if we look at the other unique approaches, there are more traditional approaches. One of them being multiple events, because as of now, a while ago, what Ali was saying is we need to be known a little bit more as far as, and even Suvish, they need to figure out and actually understand that we are there, that we are local. So they need to see us as far as trends, because Latin America is a region that is very trend following and trend setting kind of region. So we, besides these events, we also like to look for educational partnerships, because as of now, what we realize is that people are hungry for knowledge, right? And it's not necessarily about Zoho. It's more about why should we use a digital platform? Why is this needed? What advantages will we have? What are the conversions that we will have? So basically, if we go back to that, that's one of the main things. We also look for a lot of social media campaigns. Latin America is a region, specifically Mexico, which is heavily using social media. And I'm not specifically talking about LinkedIn, maybe even social media like Facebook, like Twitter, like all the video ones, Instagram. So we're constantly creating fun content, because as of now, we have a generation that is and will be willing to continue on with this digitalization. So that is another unique way we find it. And also, I want to share, and we're very happy you were mentioning what Raju said, where we kind of have an organic growth. As of now, for the first time in the region, we actually launched a campaign for Zoho specifics into airlines, so people can get to see our logo more and get to know us. So this is the first time in 8 years that we've launched this type of campaign. We also had billboards, something that we had not done before. So I think that this is actually interesting, because now people see us and they call us and they tell us, you know what, I saw your logo, I saw the billboard. So I don't know what you guys do, but I want to figure out what you can do for me, right? And it's actually something we realize, and we laugh about it, because it's very exciting for us to actually see that people are interested and will follow what they see. And when we do talk to them and we say, hey, so what did you find interesting, or what was you're calling us for a reason, what was it? It's apparently the messaging, short messaging behind our basically branding, and that we're not actually trying to push something aggressive. It's more like, hey, come to know us, this is who we are. And Latin Americans identify very well with our culture in Zoho, where it's a family-centric kind of company, where we're looking and caring for you.